Hey there. So in this difficult time, I wanted to make a video just to give you a suggestion that you should try learning a new language in this time where you are in your house and you may have less to do than normal. It can be a really great way to add some routine into your life and to feel like you're actually improving. So before I start to talk about my experience with this, I wanted to just make sure you are aware that you don't have to be productive in this time period of coronavirus where you have to be at home quarantine, especially if you're sick. But if you would like to do something productive and you would like to learn something new, and that's something that's interesting to you, this is a great opportunity as well where you might have more time on your hands and you might have more energy to spend learning a language. So I'm going to talk about my experience in Chicago in 2014 during the polar vortex, because much in the same way that I am stuck inside right now in Chicago, I was stuck inside for maybe not quite as long in 2014. The polar vortex, for those who aren't aware, is when the cold air from the Arctic comes down in such a way that it reaches, for example, Chicago. The temperatures in Chicago that year reached, I think it was about -40 degrees Fahrenheit and -40 degrees Celsius. And it was actually colder in Chicago than it was on Mars at certain points. And for those who don't know much about Mars, it's farther away from the sun than the Earth is. Anyway, you couldn't go outside. I couldn't leave my house at all, except for maybe about 1 minute, because if you were outside for more than a few minutes, you would get frostbite. I was stuck inside for probably about a month because that was the length of my winter break. And it was really cold. Even though the polar vortex was only a couple days, the rest of the winter was really harsh and I barely went outside. But what really kept me going during that time was learning French, because I was preparing to study abroad in France right after the winter break. And I spent over an hour every single day doing Duolingo, listening to podcasts, watching French movies, listening to French TV. It was a really great experience, and I look back on it fondly because it gave me a sort of structure in my day that I really did not have. Right now, I'm going to devote myself to learning Spanish for real this time. And the way I'm doing that so far is using Duolingo stories, but also watching Spanish Netflix. For example, I'm watching La Casa del Papel right now while I ride the exercise bike, and I'm going to call my mom who speaks Spanish. So some resources I would recommend to you besides the ones that I already mentioned. Quizlet. So if you're watching a Netflix show, for example, or a YouTube video and you come across a word that you don't know, you can start to learn some vocabulary words that you've seen in real life, which can be really useful and much more helpful than just reading vocabulary words in a textbook, for example. You can build those vocabulary words into your long-term memory much easier if you connect it to something in your life that has context for you. Another way you can learn is using podcasts, especially if you're doing chores around the house or going for a walk. This can be great, and it can be a way for you to get away from looking at screens. The one I listened to for French was French Pod 101, but there are a lot. And then there's also YouTube videos like the ones that I make, but even just YouTube videos in a foreign language of people doing vlogs or talking about cooking or talking about plants. I love to watch YouTube videos about plants. I love plants for some reason. And the last tip that I'm going to give to you, which I already mentioned, is to try to find real people that either are native speakers of the language you are learning or are also learning that language. So part of that could be reaching out to friends and family and challenging them, like I'm challenging you right now, to try to learn a new language. And then you can discuss with them how it's going, but you can also find a community online. I know Duolingo, for example, has a forum where you can ask questions to other people and maybe meet them. So it can be a really good way to connect with people. And I think that's what's so beautiful about learning a new language, is it not only gives the routine, it not only gives you a motivation and a sense that you're learning something each day and that you're improving, which can be really impactful, but it also opens up avenues for new communication, which is just great. I hope this video was helpful for you. I hope it will make you start on your language learning journey. Maybe try to put an hour a day into your language learning. That would be great. I'm gonna try to do the same and really focus on my Spanish during this time when I'm social distancing at home, and I'm looking forward to it. It's making me actually hopeful about the future. Like, even though my life is kind of on hold right now, as are most people's, I can still be productive, even though there can also be a productivity trap, because on a day where you're not very productive, it can feel a little bit depressing and like, oh, I could have gotten so much done today, but I didn't get it done. So it's really helpful to find a balance between wanting to be productive and learning things, but then also taking some time to do something that's just fun. I wish you the best. I hope this video was helpful for you. Let me know what language you're learning in the comments, and if you have some good resources to share with other people, that would be great to share in the comments as well. All right, see you later.